Okay, so good day class. So today we're going to discuss about the urban planning process. So this is a brief lecture outline. So we're going to discuss about the reasons in preparing an urban design plan, which is the first is the forging of visions, devising strategies, creating good locations, marketing sites or areas, and forming treaties. Then we're going to discuss also about the urban design planning process, the public outreach, the involvement of major stakeholders, the multidisciplinary team, the focus on implementation, and design as a tool for decision making. Then we're going to discuss also about the urban design plan report, which consists of the executive summary, the existing conditions, analysis drawings, summary of issues, development program, the urban design plan, the streets framework plan in street sections, open space framework plan, perspective drawings, design guidelines, implementation and phasing plan. Then the role of urban design in implementation, public support, zoning enforcement and regulatory approvals, investment and finance, marketing, framework for implementing agencies. Then the examples of urban design plans, neighborhood plans, downtown plans, mixed-use developments. Then project evaluation, economic evaluation of urban design projects, then environmental impact assessment. So what is urban design? So according here to the definition by Steiner and Butler, urban design is the discipline between planning and architecture. It gives three-dimensional physical form to policies described in a comprehensive plan. Because guys, the comprehensive plan are just policies. So with urban design, you're going to already give it a three-dimensional dimension or form. So it focuses on the design of the public realm, which is created by both public spaces and the buildings that define them. So urban design views these spaces holistically and is concerned with bringing together the different disciplines responsible for the components of cities into a unified vision. So compared to comprehensive plans, urban design plans generally have a short time horizon and are typically area or project specific. So that's the definition, guys, of urban design. So I think the keyword there is it is between planning and architecture, and that it also provides a three-dimensional form to a two-dimensional policy described in the comprehensive plan. Then, according to Motin, urban design goals are to design and build urban developments which are both structurally and functionally sound at the same time, giving pleasure to those who see the development. So you notice here, I think it's almost it's the same when we design buildings that it should also be structurally sound, functionally sound also. So I think it's related already a bit to architecture. So reasons in preparing the urban design plan. The first is the forging visions. So the vision for communities to attract investment and coordinate many disparate and even discordant interests. So when you make an urban design plan, of course, investors could already see what is the vision towards a certain community or development. So it's important in forging visions because investors when they see potential in the future, of course they're going to um, put money uh, into the the development project that you develop in the urban design plan. So the urban design plan is also important in devising strategies. An urban design plan must also include a strategic implementation plan with both short and long range initiatives. So when you design class, it's important that you know what you're going to do in the short and in the long run so that the implementation of the project will be successful. Then the third is creating good locations. So an urban design plan illustrates how a site is linked to surrounding strengths and can show how the site can become a great location. The fourth is marketing sites or areas. Urban design plans often work to transform an area, creating a new image for an area once overlooked or blighted. The fifth is forming treaties. So urban design plans are sometimes born as a result of a conflict. For example, a proposed redevelopment project may result in displacing existing businesses or residents. An urban design document can serve as a treaty to bring about a truce among warring parties. And this is the urban design process. The first is public outreach. Second is the involvement of major stakeholders. So you need to identify who are the major stakeholders of the project. So when you talk about stakeholders, these are the those that are directly affected or will be affected by the development. Then of course you need a multidisciplinary team. When you talk about multidisciplinary team, it means that it's not going to involve just architects, but also environmental planners, other engineers, um, experts in finance, experts in real estate, and others. Then the focus on implementation. Of course, you need focus on implementation because without implementation, uh, your design would just remain a piece of paper. Then design as a tool for decision making. Of course, design is a tool for decision making, guys, because design provides a framework for the future. So that's why you design because you want to know what problems could occur in the future if the design is not implemented. So the urban design planning process, you have here public outreach. So according to Steiner and Butler, because urban design plans usually involve multiple stakeholders, public participation in the planning process is essential. So a representative steering committee is one mechanism to ensure involvement of a cross-section of interest. So among the various public outreach techniques used are focus groups and public meetings. So when you say focus group, guys, these are just small groups wherein they will brainstorm on a certain idea. And public meetings, it already involves a lot of people. For instance, an entire community. So public outreach is really important because it is the public that will be affected by the urban design plan. Next is the involvement of major stakeholders. So in addition to the public outreach, process one-on-one meetings with key representatives of the major stakeholders such as elected officials, community leaders, and major institutions are important for both sides. The urban design team gains insight into the stakeholders' concerns and goals. The major stakeholders develop confidence in the team and the planning process. In developing the urban design plan, guys, it's important that you have the support of all the stakeholders so that during implementation, you won't have problems. Then next is the multidisciplinary team. So urban design is a collaborative process which involves urban designers, architects, planners, and landscape architects. So however, other disciplines are usually required such as transportation planners and engineers, civil environmental engineers, residential and commercial market analysts, construction cost consultants, and public-private finance consultants. So when such a team has been assembled, the individual consultants should be coordinated so that their expertise permeates the planning process from beginning to end. Next is the focus on implementation. So urban design projects are often complicated plans with multiple projects and participants. Implementation can be difficult even when all the forces are aligned properly. The process should begin with the implementation in mind. So you should develop a plan that is tied to the realities of receiving funding, obtaining approval, and getting the project built. Okay. So the reality, guys, is that you need funding for the project to progress, and you need also approval from the major stakeholders up to the um, agencies which are handling the permits for the project. Of course, getting the project built. So design as a tool for decision making. So by exploring alternatives, the what ifs of a site or district, the design process allows for speculation, brainstorming, and innovative thinking. Alternatives can be tested against various factors, including physical constraints, regulatory controls, the market, overall costs and benefits, economic feasibility, property valuation, phasing, public input, and experience elsewhere. So the consensus vision will then reflect those realities. So these are the components, guys, of an urban design plan report. First, we have what you call the executive summary, which contains the summary of the entire project of what you're going to do, what you're going to build, what you're going to propose, and what were the problems encountered. Then you have here the existing conditions, which describes what the site initially is. And you have here the analysis drawings. Of course, you're going to make an analysis of the problems, the probable solutions. Then here is the summary of issues, which is number 4. Then you have here the development program. Then the urban design plan, which is the three-dimensional component of the project. Then you have the street framework plan and the street section plan, the open space framework plan, the perspective drawings, which I think most of you are familiar, the design guidelines, and then the implementation and phasing plan. Because if an urban design plan is already quite large, you may need to implement it by phases because of the realities such as funding and support. So what is the role of urban design in implementation? You have here the public support. Of course, you need the support from the public because without support from the public, the plan would just remain a plan and not a reality. Then we have zoning enforcement and regulatory approvals. So you need to check the zoning, and of course, you need approvals from the different regulatory bodies so that it could be implemented. And one of the most important, investment and finance, because even if you have a good plan, if you don't have a budget to build it, then it won't become a reality. Especially here, guys, in the Philippines, it's still a developing country. Um, we have limited budget, or our government has limited budget in various projects. Then of course, marketing. Marketing is important so that the public would know what the project is. And of course, it also attracts possible investors. Then the framework for implementing agencies. Then these are the examples of urban design plans. The first is neighborhood plan, the downtown plan, and the mixed-use developments. So these are examples of a neighborhood plan. This is the Union Square Station in Somerville, Massachusetts in the US. So neighborhood scale urban design plans excuse me, often address the location and design of infill housing, new parks, and community institutions. So Main Street revitalization, housing rehabilitation guidelines, and street reconfiguration. So this is a neighborhood plan. You could see here, I think these are just the small sections of a city. So just a neighborhood. Then we have the downtown plan. So an example is the Allentown, Pennsylvania, USA Downtown Development and Urban Design Plan. So I think this is a much bigger already in scale. So downtown plans are usually part of a larger economic development strategy that is focused on attracting jobs, residents, and visitors to a downtown. So it's relatively dense and multi-story development scale which requires sensitive treatment of the public realm for pedestrians. So typical plans include mixed-use buildings, historic preservation, adaptive reuse, height and density, setbacks, views, parking strategies, transit corridors and nodes, streetscapes, waterfronts, street networks, highway access, redevelopment policies, zoning overlays, incentive districts, new stadiums and convention centers, and entertainment and cultural districts. Then we have the mixed-use development. So this is a sketch proposal for the new Clark City. So I think the scale is much larger now. So mixed-use developments are typically one owner, one site specific projects. So probably the owners are large corporations. Then samples are infill projects in downtowns, brownfield reclamation projects, lifestyle centers, also called specialty retail centers, and office and technology developments. Then typical uses are office, retail, and housing. So project sizes are can range widely from a few hectares to hundreds of hectares. Then the goal is to develop a pedestrian-friendly place to live, work, and play. Then project evaluation, we have here the economic evaluation of urban design projects and environmental impact assessment. Because project always, if you develop and build in a certain area, of course it will have an environmental impact. So you need to know what will be the impact of the development that you're going to do. So the project evaluation or the economic evaluation, you have here the cost benefit cost ratio, which is the cost benefit analysis is an evaluation method based on the estimation of cost and benefits in a project and benefit a specific project produce in relation to the stated objectives. So the cost benefit ratios of several projects are compared in order to choose the most economically efficient project. So this just means that you're going to compute the cost benefit ratio so that you'll determine what would be the uh, project would be most economically efficient. So that is the one which produces the lowest ratio. So the keyword here guys is the lowest ratio. So the formula for the benefit cost ratio is the PV of expected benefits divided by the PV of expected cost. So when you say PV, that's the present value of expected benefits divided by the present value of expected cost. So when you think about project evaluation, you need to think about these three. In project management, guys, we call this the triple bottom line, which is the economic, the social, and the environmental. Because you have, when you think about the social, you need to think out, will that development benefit a community? Okay, how will it help those who are in the area? Then of course the economic, will it generate jobs? Then, or will it stimulate the local economy? Then of course the environmental, what will be the impact of the project? So when you talk about the environmental impact assessment, so environmental impact assessment is defined as a process through which significant environmental impacts are assessed and taken into account in the planning, design, authorization, and implementation of all relevant types of action. So we have here the overall environmental impact assessment process. So the first is the screening. Next is the scoping, and you have here the EIE study or the environmental impact assessment study, which is the baseline study, the impact identification, the impact prediction and evaluation. After that, you have the impact mitigation and preparation of environmental management plan. And then you have here the AIA, documentation and presentation of results. Then at the, so this is at the project proponent level, and we go to the EMB or the NR, where it's going to for review and evaluation by the EIARC review, public consultation and hearing, site inspection, then you go to the decision making, and then the monitoring and post audit. So I think this is for our lesson this week, guys. So if you have questions or clarifications, you can reach out to me anytime and answer it. Our activity is already posted at our Padlet link. Okay, so I hope that you're going to work on it and submit it on time. Okay, so um, take care, guys, and see you next meeting.